In a moment that has quickly become one of the most talked about segments in recent talent show history, Jourdan Blue stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage and delivered a performance that stunned judges and viewers alike, prompting questions about how one voice could create such immediate impact. As reports continue to circulate about the audition's behind-the-scenes reactions, analysts point to an unusual combination of authenticity, lived experience, and raw emotional resonance that set the tone the instant Blue opened his mouth to sing. Observers noted that the studio environment noticeably shifted, with the typically loud, bustling room falling silent as Blue's vocal tone filled the air, an effect often reserved for the show's most memorable breakout stars. While producers have yet to release any extended footage, social media discussions indicate that several crew members describe the moment as cinematic in real time, suggesting that Blue's entrance alone carried weight beyond normal auditions. And although AGT has featured thousands of hopeful performers over the years, insiders say there was something unusually commanding about the way Blue held the stage, prompting speculation that the episode's final cut may show little of the pre-performance banter normally included. With the sudden surge of attention surrounding Blue's rise and the performance that allegedly shifted the energy in the entire studio, viewers are now eagerly awaiting what additional details may surface about the audition that's already being described as a landmark moment for the series. Long before his voice became a subject of national conversation, Jourdan Blue's earliest supporters recall a teenager who used school musical stages as a training ground for what would eventually develop into a signature blend of power and vulnerability, a combination rare enough to attract industry attention years later. Local educators from his former district describe him as a student who stood out not only for vocal ability, but for a willingness to experiment with tone and emotion far beyond his age group, often volunteering for solos others found too intimidating. Reports from individuals who knew him during his formative years suggest that Blue observed singers obsessively, studying the differences between theatrical projection and soulful delivery, a contrast that would later define his identity as a performer. After graduating, Blue relocated to New Orleans, where, instead of pursuing traditional studio routes, he began singing directly on the city's streets, a decision that puzzled some acquaintances, but ultimately shaped his ability to capture and maintain a crowd's attention. Eyewitness accounts from Bourbon Street workers describe him as a regular presence who would draw groups of tourists despite minimal equipment, projecting a level of confidence and energy that cut through crowded nightlife soundscapes. As more locals began to notice his consistent street sets, the small but growing audience acted as an early indicator that Blue possessed a magnetic quality that formal venues had yet to recognize. These early chapters of his story, now resurfacing as reporters dig into his background, reveal that the foundation of his AGT breakthrough was years in the making, rooted in an unconventional combination of grassroots performance, emotional exploration, and street-level resilience. Despite the promising momentum of his early talent, emerging details from Blue's past reveal a period between his late teens.
When Jourdan Blue finally appeared on America's Got Talent, reporters observing the taping noted an unusual level of anticipation in the room, with several crew members privately acknowledging that early sound checks hinted at a voice capable of commanding far more than a standard audition slot. As Blue began to perform, judges reportedly reacted within seconds, demonstrating a level of visible shock that is typically reserved for the show's most viral moments. Howie Mandel, who ultimately awarded him the Golden Buzzer, is said to have been particularly struck by the emotional density in Blue's tone, a quality that, according to industry insiders, is difficult to teach and even harder to fake. Post-taping summaries released by AGT's production team highlight Blue's seamless control of dynamics, his ability to shift from delicate phrasing to explosive peaks, and the narrative weight carried by the authenticity of his delivery. Additional commentary from entertainment analysts suggests that the performance succeeded not only because of vocal ability, but because Blue presented something increasingly rare in televised competitions: the sense that a performer is not merely singing, but reliving a story through the act. Footage leaked through audience smartphones shows several attendees standing before the final note even landed, an early indicator of the reaction that would later erupt online once the episode aired. Within hours of broadcast, Hashtags bearing Blue's name began trending across social platforms, solidifying the moment as a major cultural entry point for an artist who, until recently, was known predominantly among New Orleans locals and street performance enthusiasts. In the aftermath of Jourdan Blue's AGT appearance, media outlets have increasingly described his performance as a turning point for the show, sparking discussions about how authenticity and lived experience are reshaping audience expectations for televised talent. Critics point to the unique combination of street-honed technique, emotional backstory, and tonal intensity that allowed Blue to stand apart from competitors who rely primarily on technical precision or stylized presentation. What makes Blue's impact particularly noteworthy, according to vocal analysts, is the way his sound bridges multiple genres without feeling manufactured, drawing elements from soul, gospel, pop, and blues, while retaining a core emotional identity unmistakably tied to his personal journey. Entertainment commentators have also begun speculating about potential opportunities awaiting him, including early conversations about label interest, possible collaborations, and the likelihood of original music releases sparked by the momentum of his audition. Rumors circulating in production side circles indicate that AGT executives see him as a potential new face for the show's promotional campaigns, citing his broad demographic appeal and compelling narrative. Meanwhile, online audiences continue to dissect every moment of his performance, highlighting micro-expressions, vocal shifts, and emotional nuances that suggest his stage presence is far more complex than a standard talent show breakout. These conversations underscore the emerging consensus. Blue didn't merely deliver a strong audition. He introduced a performance style that challenges norms and reframes how viewers perceive sincerity and power on a televised stage.
In the days following Jourdan Blue's nationwide breakthrough, industry insiders began releasing detailed accounts of the behind-the-scenes reaction, painting a picture of a production environment that reportedly shifted the moment his audition concluded. According to crew members who spoke under anonymity, Blue's performance triggered unusually intense conversations among AGT producers, with some suggesting that executives immediately began assessing how his segment would anchor the season's promotional narrative. Representatives from several record labels have allegedly begun tracking his social media growth, monitoring engagement metrics that spiked dramatically within hours of the episode airing. One executive familiar with talent show scouting processes described the reaction to Blue as faster than anything we've seen since the show's early viral era, noting that his combination of vocal depth, emotional storytelling, and street-developed stage presence made him stand out in a landscape increasingly dominated by polished but often predictable performers. Meanwhile, agents from multiple entertainment sectors, live touring, streaming content, and televised specials have quietly expressed interest in potential collaborations, citing the rare public consensus surrounding his audition. Even among vocal coaches, there has been significant discussion about how Blue's tone and timbre reflect a type of natural skill that cannot be replicated through traditional training, prompting analysts to explore how his raw technique might influence future casting trends. As these industry conversations continue, one recurring sentiment has emerged. Jourdan Blue represents not just a standout performer, but a case study in how authenticity can disrupt a system long structured around market-tested formulas, positioning him as a wild-card force in an industry that rarely encounters true unpredictability.
While it is too early to predict the full trajectory of Jourdan Blue's career, early indicators suggest that his impact may extend far beyond the typical arc of talent show success, with experts pointing to several factors that position him for lasting relevance. Industry forecasters note that Blue's story, shaped by hardship, resilience, and a non-traditional path to recognition, creates a foundation that viewers remain invested in long after the initial viral moment fades, making him a strong candidate for sustained public interest. Additionally, Preliminary audience data shows that his demographic reach spans both younger digital native viewers and older audiences who respond strongly to emotional storytelling, a rare generational crossover that significantly increases his long-term marketability. Reports circulating in entertainment industry circles suggest that producers from various networks are already evaluating him for future appearances, ranging from televised specials to potential docuseries exploring his backstory and creative evolution. Meanwhile, musicians and vocal coaches have begun referencing Blue's audition in discussions about performance authenticity, indicating that his emergence may influence how new artists conceptualize stage presence and vocal expression. Cultural observers argue that his rise represents a shift toward valuing raw emotional resonance over vocal perfection, a movement they believe could reshape casting expectations in future televised competitions. As speculation continues regarding potential albums, collaborations, and live shows, one theme remains consistent across expert commentary. Jourdan Blue has already crossed the threshold from contestant to cultural figure. Whether he chooses to pursue mainstream stardom, carve out a niche path, or build a career centered on storytelling-driven music, analysts agree that his audition marked the beginning of a legacy that will be studied as an example of how authenticity can transform both a performance and an industry.